Welcome to the SDRL Season 8 Championship second double-header. This event begins at Suzuka's legendary circuit in Japan, before heading to Shanghai's sweeping straights in China. Skill and strategy will be tested across these two iconic circuits, as drivers battle for crucial points in back-to-back races that will reshape the championship fight. Our first race here at Suzuka starts with one-shot quali. ICU took pole by less than 1/10 over Barbance. The top four, including Max and Black Fridays, all sit within 2/10 of the lead. As we line up on the grid, ICU and Barbance take the front row, and from recent pace will be hard to displace. The question will be whether ICU can hold on to the lead. On the second row, a good finish here will help Max's bragging rights in the championship, and Aston in the Constructors. Alongside Max's Black Fridays, who will be looking to consolidate on his endurance run on hards last week. Third row, Mars will be gunning for maximum points to help with his pursuit of Barbance, and Test will be looking for a solid performance. Fourth row, Berkey and Shan will want to add to the points tallies of an impressive season, and fifth row, Bradders and Diddyflies will be on the hunt to maintain their points positions. The entire grid here opted for mediums to start these 19 laps, save for Test Will and Rando opting to start fast and pit early on softs. The launch was clean despite the first turn being hotly contested through the field. ICU kept the lead and would start lap 2 in the lead. Diddyflies made up a couple of positions in the top 10, and both Shuri and Shan edged into the top 10. It would be the beginning of lap 4 when our first question was answered, as Barbance took the lead from ICU on the straight. The answer to another grid question was how long the softs would last. 4 laps for Test Will. A 15-lap stint on hards lay ahead, possibly looking for the undercut. It would be lap 8 before the front of the grid blinked and jumped into the pits, with Barbance, who tends to have pace and better tyre wear, staying out. The front 6 had built a good delta over the field, which put ICU, Mars and Max back on track in P4, 5 and 6. The goal now would be to use these new hards to close the 20-second gap on Barbance's worn mediums before he pitted. Heading into lap 12, Mars improved his position by taking Max on the straight for P3 and a 23-second delta to Barbance. Barbance would pit at the end of lap 12, giving him 7 laps to manage the lead on very shiny softs. Perhaps 7 laps on the softs will be an opportunity for others, but knowing Barbance's ability to manage wear, it would likely be daunting, especially for ICU, whose undercut worked, but was now managing his hards with Barbance 9/10 back on softs. It wasn't so much a race, but watching a predator move in on his prey. Going into the last 6 laps, finishing position for the majority of the pack would be all about battery management and timing on the straight. ICU managed to hold out to the start of lap 15, where Barbance executed battery management, DRS and the overtake to perfection, taking P1. ICU would do an excellent job of hanging on to Barbance, but ultimately Barbance would take the flag in P1. ICU, as with the last races, took P2, less than a second behind. Mars an excellent P3, closely followed by Max in P4. Shan, as ever consistent in races, took P5, with Black Fridays close behind in P6. Berkey would take P7, Shuri P8, Test Will P9 and Diddyflies P10. Now we head on to China. In addition to the precision and skill required of Japan, China will demand some bravery with good opportunities to contest places. The reverse lineup here puts our consistently fastest drivers at the back and those with the lowest points tally at the front. Some of these front-of-grid drivers will be fast, but can they be consistent enough to hold that lead? On the front row we have Rando and Josh, both on softs. Second row, Bradders and Shuri on mediums. Third row sees Xbox on mediums and Kilza on softs. Fourth row has Epa Ake on mediums and Lei on softs. Fifth row, Shan sports mediums and Diddyflies softs. Working to the back of the grid, ICU on mediums, Berkey hards, Max softs, Mars mediums, Barbance softs, Test Will and Black Fridays on mediums. The launch was eventful, with some wheel banging approaching the first corner and then a collision into turn 1 that left Josh, Bradders and Mars off the track, but fortunately able to rejoin. At the end of lap 1, the field looked a little different than it did 1 minute and 38 seconds earlier. Notably, Rando had done an excellent job of holding the lead. Shorey had slid from P4 to P2 and Xbox into P3. Perhaps ominously for the rest of the field, Barbans had jumped from P15 to P7 with a mission to get away from the pack as soon as possible. Sat on the gearbox of ICU, he seemed well positioned to cut through the field. Black Fridays too had jumped from a back of the grid P17 up to P8. Another question in these early laps would be to see how long these soft tyres would last, and surely an early pit stop would drop the likes of Barbans back into the pack. Coming through turn 10, ICU would lose grip on the curb and spin out, dropping to P10 and briefly bringing out a yellow flag. At some point, Leigh and Josh also seemed to come together, perhaps distracted by ICU or negotiating his car. Bradders and Josh seemed to suffer from some network glitches as they barrelled down the main straight, causing Bradders to embark on a sequence of collisions with Josh. Bradders would recover enough to take the position out of turn 14. Lap 5 saw Bradders DNF, Leigh and Josh struggling at the back, but the rest of the grid in one long DRS train. Barbans' softs took him to the end of lap 8 and P3, with the pack down to P10 stacked close behind. Barbans would come out of the pits in P9 with a 25-second delta to P1, but everyone ahead of him still yet to pit. Would Barbans on fresh mediums be able to make up the typical 22 seconds required for a pit stop? The answer was yes. Barbans took the lead as the leaders took to the pits. Notably, 2 seconds back from Barbans, Black Fridays was on new softs with 7 laps to close in, overtake and maintain the lead over the Hungarian. The lap 14 straight was Black Friday's first bite at the lead, having managed to slip into the DRS of Barbans, but it was not to be. ICU, recovering from his earlier off, managed to take P7 from Berkey on the straight. With 5 laps remaining, it was going to be all about jostling for these last positions from P4 back to P10. The main event, though, was Black Fridays chasing down Barbans. Lap 17, Black Fridays had 5 laps of wear on his softs, and it was starting to show. Not able to find that extra tenth of pace to contend for P1. As it was, much as ICU had sat on Barbans' gearbox the last 3 races, Black Friday's excellent charge up the pack ended in Barbans' slipstream. A brilliant victory for Barbans in both driving and strategy, starting from P15. Possibly even more so for Black Fridays, who started near the back of the grid a row behind Barbans. 9 seconds back, Max would take P3 and Shorey P4. ICU made an excellent recovery to nab P5, although his position would later be amended by the FIA. P5 would eventually go to Shan, Berkey P6, Mars P7, ICU classified P8, Test Will an impressive P9 and Xbox P10. In the Drivers' Championship, Barbans is now crowned the winner. It's been our honour to watch Barbans from the stands through each season. Huge congratulations. Mars also looks to have sealed P2. Congratulations to him, always entertaining to watch. Max's third will be hotly contested by ICU in the final week. With the Constructors' Championship won by Aston Martin, Mercedes are a lock for second, with Red Bull, Williams and Alpine fighting it out for the mid-order millions. Next up, we have the Season 8 finale. Formula 1 is coming home.